someone in the world of entrepreneurship and business isn't willing to do this deeper type of transformational work in their life, then they just need to go get a job, because they're always going to be hitting walls.
Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join real estate entrepreneur and mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Welcome back to Construct Your Life. This is Austin Linney here, and I have my good friend Linda in the house. How are you doing?
Very good. So glad to be here.
Good. Well, we had the podcast before the podcast, but that's for private consumption. We don't need to let people peer into my life. I always wanted to create a podcast called. I always wanted to create a podcast called Behind the Vault, and it was all the stories that I had, prior. Yeah, that's the juicy stuff. But Linda, how would you? I mean, you do so many things, but how would you describe yourself?
So I usually start out by saying that I'm a transformational facilitator. So I have been working with helping people transform their lives over the past probably 17 plus years. But behind all of that are certain superpowers that I have that assist in that process. So I am an intuitive, a spiritual intuitive. So I use these particular skills to be able to assist me to be able to help people get to the core of where they are stuck, so that we can clear that out in order for them to start moving forward and living the more authentic life they've always wanted. And of course, with more purpose and with more fulfillment. So that requires a lot of digging into people's lives on very deep kind of subconscious, unconscious levels to help them clear out what they don't even realize is there that's causing the block. So it is a form of transformational work that I do. And it's unique and it's different. It's hard to describe because it's very specific to the person I'm working with. So yeah, that would be what I would say. I help people facilitate their own transformation.
Well, which is hard, and I do that in my own way, right? And
Yes.
and I've gained so much from you, adapting some of your techniques into what I do, right? And for anybody that's out there going, "Wow, I don't know what she said. That's a whole thing. I don't understand it." Basically, the easiest way to describe it is read the book "Surrender Experiment" by Michael Singer.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what I tell entrepreneurs. If you wanna start to understand this work. It's basically like there's a book called EOS Traction. It's like the most popular entrepreneurship. He's written like 20 books, but he wrote a book that just came out. Mm-hmm. And one of the chapters, I want to listen to it every week. It's basically the number one fear that entrepreneurs have is that if they turn off their flame, they can't turn it back on. Right.
Oh, interesting.
I got here because of my chip on my shoulder, my grit, my force. I just run through walls. Right. That's what we. So the chapter is called "Peaceful." Can I be a peaceful warrior? Can I be a driven but calm inside? Right. And I'm sure a lot of the work you do is like meeting. Like I remember a funny story. I went and met a friend at a retreat center down in Florida. And I flew in, and she's very, she has a huge business, but very chill. And we were walking in the garden behind the house for like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And me, I mean, this was years ago. I was like, dude, I was charged up. I was ready to like dive in, And after like 30 minutes, we got done, and she looks over at me and she goes, "You know what I was doing, right?" And I said, "I have no idea. You're showing me flowers." And she goes, your RPMs were like maxed out. And she goes, "I was just trying to like get him down so we could have like a real conversation."
Oh my God. So you had to go walk through the
thing, right? And so when you meet entrepreneurs, you're an entrepreneur yourself. When you meet entrepreneurs, right? In your opinion, like, is there like a normal place that they're stuck, that maybe they're like a blind spot that they can't see?
Well, there's always definitely blind spots for sure. And because I specifically work most of the time with women, I don't work with a whole lot of men. So what
Okay.
you're describing does sound very much like the
Yes.
way that masculine drives himself.
Hmm.
I don't see that particular pattern as much with women, but definitely the blind spots. Definitely, you can't see what you can't see. And that's where I come in. I help people to see what they can't see. And it's completely unique and different depending on what business they're in, where they're struggling. But one pattern that I see most common is that the difficulties they're having in their business with people. So people either they're working with, people that they are managing, people that they're having to work on teams with, or even people that they're doing any type of business exchange with. So if they bring that to me, the pattern I always see every time is that it is a patterning of their family system that they have not healed yet. So that person, that situation, those people represent either members of their family or some family dynamic that they're not even aware of that's getting played out in their business in some way. And so that always tends to kind of blow people away when they're going, oh my God, that's my dad. And they never saw it, or oh my gosh, that's my, pattern with my mother. And they never saw it. So my job is to help point out where they are actually repeating unconscious patterns from their family system in business. Because you don't have to be married, you don't have to be, connected with anybody other than just working in a job, and your family patterns will show up. I mean, a boss will show up who reminds you of your father, or someone will show up that you have to work with that reminds you of the sibling you hate. It's really always fascinating to watch that pattern show up. So I would say anybody in the entrepreneurial world who's struggling with other people in their system, in their business system, really ask yourself, step back and ask, how is this reminding me of some kind of wounding or something in my system, my family system that I haven't dealt with, that I ignored, that I walked away from, that may have something to do with why I'm not having a peaceful dynamic with this person or people. And you will find something if you're willing to dig. So that's what I do. I help people dig into
Yeah.
what this could possibly be, because it's not going to change until your pattern shifts and heals. So if the person says, well, I'm just going to fire that person, hire someone else, that's fine. The issue will pop up somewhere else until it's healed. So
Yeah.
so I see that as a big blind spot. They don't see how some of their unhealed patterns in their own families show up in business.
I
That's a
just
big.
I just started IFS therapy. So so yeah, I mean, huge. Had a breakthrough on my first session already. Second one's in 2 days. But one of the things that I do, because I coach teams like sales
Yeah,
team or service department, is like
yeah,
the owners going like, hey, I don't understand why they're fighting, or I can't understand why I can't get them motivated. And I'm like, have you asked them about their childhood? Like you're asking them about their job. Like, we need to go assess like how they are down here.
yeah,
And it's not, it's 100%. I mean, you're
yeah.
spot on.
People you bring your entire family system to any job, any business, anything. You do. There's no way you can, somebody will say, well, I cut off my family 30 years ago. Well, even worse. That system, you're dragging it along with you because you haven't wanted to deal with it. So it is going to show up in your work in some way, always. I mean, it's just, you can't get away from it because you can't cut off the systems you're a part of ever, even if you'd love to. They're a part of who you are. They're in your genetics, and it's part of the energetic you carry on an unconscious level. So when people say, well, I cut that person off, 2 decades ago, doesn't matter. That
Well,
energetic is still with you.
and so in that sense, let me take an analogy from my own life, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And because I love putting myself, right on camera and my deepest, darkest. So when I got sober, or when I wanted to get sober, I
Mhm.
wanted to run. I wanted to run from every part of that old version of me. Like, I ran as quick as a human being could run. Right.
Right.
It wasn't until I was strong enough in my
Right.
new me to be able to go back. And that's what I'm doing now, because
Yes.
people think it's crazy for me to say this, but I literally have blacked out my childhood from 17 on.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, that's so
there's
common.
bits and pieces, right? And so
Yeah, common.
what I think is interesting in what you're saying is, in my mind, in my conscious mind, it could be out,
Yeah,
but in every part of me, it's still there.
right. Exactly. But you made a very important point that you had to get to a place where you were emotionally mature enough to be able to go back and revisit
Okay.
all
Okay.
of what that was. And I see that all the time with clients where, we get to a place, let's say they're in their 50s or even in their 60s or older, and they're finally ready to deal with the trauma of their early childhood, that they
Hmm.
just never had the ability to deal with the level of pain, the level of
Hmm.
loss, the level of
Hmm.
grief that a child just can't process. And even an adult until they have the bandwidth and the space in their life to be able to deal with it. So,
Hmm.
some people, you can't rush the healing process. You're ready when you're ready, period.
Well,
You can't make it
yeah.
happen.
Well, what's interesting for me is something that shifted me in the last 3 months, 4 months,
Yeah,
is my association with grief. We think that grief is like somebody passed away, but you can
right.
like grieve a version of yourself. You can grieve a
Yes.
business, a relationship. Like,
Yeah.
that's really been the huge thing of like, oh, you're not like, yeah, you're upset, but like, you just, once you process this, like, it's
Yes.
good. But like, what I
Yeah.
realized is I never processed any of it. Like, it was just
Right.
like, I feel terrible, like, let's numb it with booze and not try to think about it. And now it's like, you have to like look right at the storm, and you just have to like walk right through it.
Yes, exactly. No, but it's true. There is so many levels and layers of grief of all kinds. And sometimes we don't realize what we're even grieving. Like we're
Mm,
even unconscious to what we're even grieving.
yeah.
And that can be a life changer. I had a situation. I lost a fiance years ago who
Okay.
died. And I knew him from childhood. Like we had known each other since childhood. He went off to war. We hadn't seen each other for like 20 plus years. He found me. We reconnected. Then, he had issues, of course. And then he called off the engagement and then he died. And, wow, I grieved that so deeply. And I didn't understand why I was grieving so deeply because we had already broken up. We'd been apart for about a year. And I was like, why am I not letting this go? And so, of course, I went to talk to a dear friend and practitioner of mine. And I wasn't grieving his death because I knew he was in a much more peaceful place. He suffered a lot. So that was not what I was grieving. But I couldn't put my finger on what I was grieving. I couldn't let it go. And so she asked me a very profound question because that's how she does her work. And all of a sudden, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's what it is. I was grieving the fact that I had a belief that there would never be anybody who could ever love me the way he did. I was grieving that. But I didn't know that that's what I was grieving until she asked me that question. And then it shifted everything. And then she was able to work with me with a couple of things. And then I was fine. The grief lifted. So sometimes we don't realize what exactly we're grieving. And it just has a hold of us until we figure it out. And then it's released. So that's just an example of how we can grieve so deeply. Like you said, even the loss of a person, but it may not even be the loss of the person. It's something associated with that that we
Yeah.
might be grieving. So
Because I'm like, everybody has their own integration styles, right? And
yes,
it's odd to coach me. It's odd to help me, because like, I'll be stubborn on something for like 2 years, but then like, I just need that one question in that exact moment, and I'm like done. Like, it's like, okay,
yeah,
integrated, boom. Like that was what happened on my first IFS thing. And look,
yeah,
I'll share with everybody. I'm an open book, so I'll share with everybody. But it was my revelation, and that's for. I gotta tell you this story because you're gonna laugh. I shouldn't tell these stories on podcasts, but who cares? So basically, the long and short of it is, for anybody who doesn't know what IFS therapy is, it's parts therapy. You have multiple parts of who you are, that play a part in building the you, right? And my revelation was very simple. my entire life for 42 years, have been combative with every part of myself. Every part of myself, the 17-year-old, the protector, like I'm upset with that person, like how dare you,
Yeah.
you're the enemy, everything. And what they're all asking for is to be seen and loved. And once they
Right.
do that, they will quiet. So instead of them being outside of me, if I just accept them and love them, and they come inside of me, then I become whole again.
That's it. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
In shamanistic, in the shamanistic world, they talk about this being things fractured out, like bringing back the lost parts of your
Yes.
same thing.
It's actually the story of the three kings, right?
Yes,
The kings and the sons. It's the same story,
yes,
right? And
exactly.
so this happens, and I have to lead an hour and a half onboarding new client call 2 minutes after this happens.
Oh my
So
God.
I said, "Hey, Katie, thank you so much. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Love you so much. Thanks for crushing my soul. I need 30 seconds to pull myself together to do this client." And I let it grate, and then I wrote in my journal after that meeting for a
Wow.
while. But like but but we fight every aspect of who we are,
Yes.
not understanding that all who we are is all those aspects. Like I said it
Yes.
in the simplest term ever, like, because I'm trying to get people to understand, like, all
Yeah.
the things that you're fighting, they don't want anything from you, but they just want to be acknowledged. And then
Yes.
once they're acknowledged, like, they're good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like the little one who's throwing the tantrum. Okay, so a mother could understand this, or even a father. Your little 2-year-old's throwing a tantrum, and what they're really wanting, they're just wanting your full presence and your full attention and your love, and they'll calm down.
Mm-hmm.
But we are, as parents, so busy all the time, we can't give that sometimes to our children. Well, we do that with our own selves. We don't give those parts of ourselves that really need our love, our presence, our attention. We don't give it to that part of ourselves. And so it keeps acting up until
Mm-hmm.
we give it
So
what it
now,
needs.
now I'm a maniac, and I'm thinking to myself every time I interact with people, I'm like, "What part is this of yours?"
That's a good question, though.
Yeah, yeah. It's like,
Don't
because
do it
like,
out
don't do it out loud. Like, only if
loud.
they're actually like paying you to be in your life. Yeah. No, but it's so interesting because since that moment,
Yeah.
I've had so much joy in my life. Not happiness, like joy.
Yeah.
I know people describe it, but like a lightness, like, of the
Yes.
whole thing. Like, yeah, like we're still figuring things out. Still got a lot of work to do, but
Right.
it doesn't feel so like push and pull.
Yes, exactly. Well, I could just tell today your energetic is very different from the last time that I saw you. You're just much more elevated. You do feel lighter.
Okay.
You seem lighter. You look lighter.
Okay.
Um, and that says that you've just literally had a massive breakthrough.
Yes.
Usually when people have massive breakthroughs in their life of some deep transformational experience of some sort,
Hmm.
this is what you experience, this lightness, this, oh my gosh, I'm seeing the world in new technicolor.
Yeah.
Everything seems to shift to some next level.
And one of the things to second what you're saying is, and I got this from a long conversation with a good friend. Like, a lot of the reasons that I'm so stubborn is I'm holding on to the old patterns because that's all I know. And
Of
so
course.
one of the things that was brought to my attention was, you haven't written the book about your addiction because you haven't told the full story. You've given the highlights. But if you
Yeah.
tell the full story, then you might have to let the story go.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
I'm like, thanks for ripping open my soul again, last week, right? But it was what I needed to hear, because it's true.
Exactly.
Because by not, yeah, you've told the story on the podcast, you've told the story, but you haven't told the story, like
Exactly.
the actual emotions. You've given the highlight reels,
Exactly.
and it was like, you're 100% right. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so how many of these things in our lives,
Oh my God.
how many of these like moments, these like, I remember I was at a workshop a while back in Austin,
Yeah.
and there was
Yeah.
a woman there who was bawling after the facilitator worked with her. There was 50 people in the room, She was
Wow.
65 years old, and it was from a moment in first grade that happened for like 3 minutes.
Wow. Yeah, exactly. That. Yeah. No, gosh, you're making some really important points. I think that, in the world of business, entrepreneurship, if the person is not willing to do the deeper transformational work it's going to take for them to really get to the level they want in their business or whatever their vision is as an entrepreneur, then they just need to walk away and go get a job because it's going to require.
Hold on. Say that again. Say that again, because you just blew my mind. Say it again.
I said that if someone in the world of entrepreneurship in business isn't willing to do this deeper type of transformational work in their life, then they just need to go get a job because they're always going to be hitting walls and not know what's going on and then feel depressed and feel like they're a failure if they don't let themselves really go into the personal transformational work that's needed for them to get to next levels. Because your business, your entrepreneurial projects are literally an extension of you. They're just you out there in the face of the name of your business. It's just you. So if there's something going on with your business, it's you.
Wow.
You have to look at yourself.
So this is oh god, timing is insane. So we're teamed up with a guy and we're consulting on larger companies now. And so I've had a lot of nervousness around, larger companies, some of them not in the sectors I'm familiar with. I know this space, this is simple. So we have a call yesterday.
Yeah.
And these guys have been around for 35 years and they have multiple businesses. They're very smart. And I nailed everything on their product and what they were thinking. And I walked away from that call going, okay, it's all the same game.
Yeah.
It's all the same game.
Exactly.
It's all the same game. And and when people tell you, and I'm going to say this line because we're going to get into money with you, because I want it to be clear. 100. They say this all the time. People are like, "You're out of your mind." Making $100 million is the same as making $10 million. And people are like, no. But when you understand the game behind the game, yes, it is. And your husband said something to me at when we met that blew me away. And this is going to foray into the conversation. And I'm going to get it wrong, but I want you to correct me if I get it wrong. He said you were hosting a workshop about money.
Yeah.
And you asked all the people where money came from.
Right.
And they said the Federal Reserve, they said, the government, blah, 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 blah.
Jobs,
Jobs and everything. And you said money comes from where it comes from.
Yeah. Money comes from wherever it comes from.
Okay. Expand on this, because when I heard it, it stopped me in my tracks. I almost walked away from the conversation. So expand on this, like what you're saying, because it's so smart.
Yeah. Okay. So, this is about breaking. The reason why I had this particular workshop is to help people break out of their very limited ideas, beliefs about money in general. So we're programmed to believe money, is this thing that comes from particular places. It comes from your job. It comes from, like you said, the Federal Reserve. So that's how we're thinking. So for instance, you have a job and you're working at a job, your mind is, well, that's where my money comes from. So if I don't have enough money, it's my job. They're not paying me enough. I need to get a job that pays more money. And that's all they're thinking. It's very narrow-minded. When in truth, money is a consciousness. So this is how I work with money, and this is how I teach my clients to work with money. It's a consciousness. So it comes from wherever it chooses to come from. Your job is to open your energy, your field, your mind to realize money can come from any direction, from any source. It doesn't have to come from the particular one you're wanting it to come from. If you do that, then you're limiting. You're turning off the faucets. So you think of it as there's all these infinite faucets of how and where money can come from, and you're turning them all off, and you're only allowing one or two to be open. Like, it only comes from my investments, and it only comes from this job or this, whatever it is. Instead of opening up all the faucets and go, wait a minute, money comes from wherever it chooses to come from. Who am I to tell money where to come from? You can't. I mean, you can. You can say money only come from this faucet right here. Okay, great. Well, then that faucet might just be a trickle. So
Mm.
it's for you to just open and realize, okay, money, I get it. You come from wherever you choose to come from. I'm not going to limit that. Now, of course, you can take it to that next level. Well, truly, money only comes from divine source, the source. And that is there, if people have a belief in source, absolutely. There is something higher. There is a reason why, we were given this thing we call money. So it is a form of source. So you can interact with it that way as well, which I think is very powerful. But of course, if you think of it that way, well, source chooses to bring in this thing we call money in any way it chooses. So again, it's the same thing. Money comes from wherever it comes from wherever it chooses to come from wherever source chooses to give it to you from. Mm-hmm. So it opens your mind to not limit, like money has to come from here or here or here or just these three places. It comes from wherever. You just open up and you allow it to flow. So that means that resources, ideas, new inspirations might come to you because you're opening up to all the different possibilities that you would never have brought into your mind otherwise. So I don't know if it makes sense.
No, one of the number one issues with clients and just people in general, especially on the business world, is that they believe in absolutes. I'm not like they write like a vision and they're like, this is the only way it's gonna, like, dude,
right.
have you come talk to this guy?
Right.
Dude, true story. I have a really good friend. He's known me for 20 years, and like every time my life gets put in a blender and tossed upside down and basically burned to the ground, which just happened a few months ago, he looks me dead in the face and he goes, "Yeah, so." He goes, "There's nobody I'm ever more confident about building it all back." He goes, "You've done it like 9 times." He's like, "Who cares?" Like, and I'm just like, "Yeah, you're right. I have, right?" Like, "You're good. Yeah, cool. Okay, great, got it." So like as an entrepreneur, it's like one of my favorite gifts is like finding people in something else they did and then making them successful at something different, right? So what I mean by that is like how many people, right? In describing what you said, how many people are hanging on to a way of life or a business that no longer serves them, but it's the only way they've ever made money. So to leave that terrifies them to death.
Oh my God, I've dealt with that too, with many of my clients. They're afraid to take the leap in the direction their soul, their heart is calling them because, there's no proof that there's quote unquote money there. Whereas this is a set thing. They know that they're going to be getting their paycheck or whatever from this. And so that's that limited, way of thinking that money can only come from a certain particular area. So if you believe money can come from wherever it comes from, then you won't have a problem trying this or trying that or doing this or adding that or getting rid of this and going here or quitting that and starting that because it's going to come from wherever. It always does.
Well, what we don't do anymore? We don't practice. We don't practice. We don't like people are like, "What are you interested now?" And I was like, "I'm interested in being 100% uncomfortable." Like that's what I'm interested in. Like, and instead of like cowering down to that, I'm going, this is going to teach me something no matter what. Like it's all good. And then one of the things that my friend clocked that was absolutely changed my entire, like one of the things that changed my entire life. So I've been going since March, since I got back to Texas, I've been going to these men's groups. So one is a sober men's group. One is a bigger men's group, like 30 to 50 people, all businessmen. They meet every other week. And so I've been loving it because I travel so much. So for me to have community is just like a game changer. Like the same people. Hey, how are you doing? It's been great. It's been great.
Yeah.
But I said, why am I loving it so much? And she goes, you're finally in rooms that you shouldn't be in again.
Oh.
She goes, you're no longer the guy leading the room. You're just in the room being led.
Yes.
And I realized for the last 6 years of my life, I've been in rooms that I've been leading. It's nice to be just somebody that's being curious and learning.
I so get that. Oh my gosh. Yeah. In fact, one of my friends said, Linda, because I was thinking about starting another, circle group thing. She goes, why don't you just find one to go to that you enjoy? I'm like, okay, that's actually a good idea. But it's true. Yes.
Yeah. And so many times we stay in those groups, or we stay in that community, or we stay in that job, or we stay in that career because we don't want to be challenged secretly, right?
Oh,
And at the end of the day, if you ask yourself, like, how can I scare the shit out of myself today? Like, if you ask yourself that in the morning, like,
yeah.
one of the things that's really great, right, is like intentionally, I'm a really good person. I
I
believe that about myself. Okay. That's about all I can control.
mean,
Like, regardless of everything else, like, I tell everybody, like, be the palm tree, like, be the
yeah.
palm tree in the storm, like,
Okay.
and right. And so you told me a year ago, you said, look, the most uncomfortable thing that you'll do is you'll switch into some consulting business, which is where your heart's going to, which is bigger scale, larger companies. It's going to take you a long time because you're leaving behind, what you know how to make, right?
Right.
And it's starting to take shape. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh yeah, this is so much more in alignment with what I'm doing. I'm making more money.
Yes.
I'm in my zone of genius. I
Yes.
love what I do because I get to impact people at scale.
Yeah.
Like all, like, I could just go on the list. Like, the list is like crazy. And like, here's this one thing. It's like, yeah, but you only know this. Like, it's like that one little, like, last, like, pattern, right? And so, like, I'm like opposing to people, like, how many of those things that you need to do,
Right.
whether it be in the health space, working out more, or eating better, or getting the new job, or leaving the job that's toxic, like, yeah, like, I really, and this is a true statement, I really feel bad for guys that are making $250,000 to $600K a year with a family, with
Yes.
vesting options, that are just stuck in this, like, toxic job that they can't stand. Like, you're making money where it matters, but you're not,
Right.
if you don't make a lot of money, you're like, I'll just leave this job. But
Right.
like,
Right.
how many of those people are out there, right, that have built their whole career and they got to the end and they're like, this is it?
Yeah. Exactly. No, there's millions actually, or
Yes.
millions of people. It's actually kind of sad to think about the suffering that's happening out there, but yeah, I feel like we're actually now in a time, though, because I'm seeing more and more, at least of when it comes to my clients, I'm seeing more and more people questioning
Yes.
um their life and whether this is really the direction they want to go in, and they're making dramatic shifts. They're leaving the country, they're starting to live in other countries,
Hmm.
they're deciding just to walk away from everything and really go towards, not money, but what brings them their joy, their happiness, what brings them, the adventure they want. So they're not using money as the number one thing to make the choice about anymore. Instead, they're deciding,
Hmm.
the money will be there in whatever way, but I'm going to go in the direction that really brings my soul happiness. Because as we know, we can see that at this point in time, how long a life we have is very unpredictable. And so we really need to choose that full on life,
Hmm.
and not have money be the limit. Like, I
Yes.
can't choose that because it brings in no money. I hear that so much.
Maybe you have to choose it so it brings in the money.
Exactly. Exactly. Because remember, money comes from wherever it comes from.
Yes. I love it. So if people want to find out more about you, they want to track you down, how would they do that?
Well, first, you could go to my website. It's still under construction, but you can fill out a little form and it'll be sent to me, and then I can get a hold of you. So www.lindagalvan.com, or you can also just text me. I'm a big texter, so I don't mind people texting me if they're interested in getting a hold of me. So you can always text me to 512-576-5297. And if you're interested in my services, just like I said, reach out through that form on my website or through a text, and I'll reach out.
I love it. Linda, it's always a pleasure, guys. Make sure you check out her stuff. Send us a review, rate us and review us, and we'll see you next time.
Wonderful. Thank you.